What is your what by when? Anyone not have a what by when? What are we most afraid of for the world to find out? What's the one thing that you hold right here? Now, I didn't say the one that you're willing to talk about. Do you say everybody knows everything about me and I'm an open book? Okay, fair. Let me ask you another question. Let me ask you differently. Do you want to be free? Okay, perfect. Do you know what prevents you from being free? What has prevented you in the past? What are you trying to get free from? You can say, hey, I don't want to be free. Or you could say, I'm not sure. Because the what by when is the thing. And based on the look on your face, I feel that you have something. But you're like, this thing. And here's the most important part. The freedom is not even about like what you do in this room in here. The freedom is actually just about your willingness to take whatever the step is and to not run away from how afraid we feel as we're going to make the step or make the move that takes us to the step. You need it so that you can move on to the next part. Here. Fair. Anybody else not have? Ma'am. So you thought about it and you're like, oh, I can't go there. Because you're like, if I say something, this thing is going to be recorded.
Yeah.
And the world will know.
It's not the world. I mean, it's the world too, but it's
3 or 4 people who are your world, or who are in your world, or hold a lot of weight or space in your world.
Yeah.
It's one of those 3.
So what's interesting and why it's coming up is because just this week I shared this with some people in my industry. Okay. And it opened so many doors. So I know this is it, but it's not something I share. So, sorry, it's really raw because it's really fresh. So, when I was a teenager, my mom, who I love dearly, she didn't have a mom. Her mom died when she was really young. Okay. And I went through some pretty heavy stuff. I'm an open book with that, but that's not important. I dealt with some heavy depression. I was pretty suicidal for a number of years. And
as a teenager?
As a teenager, yeah. My mom locked me up for a week, 2 weeks. It was like a drop off, and she would go to work. And I bring this up, and it's part of the reason I'm so passionate about artists and everything that they deal with and the mindset, because I've had to fight. I live in a country, my whole family's in Canada. I'm here by myself. So it's been a solo operation. Everything you guys have talked about today and everything we've discussed about the layers and the masks that you put on to be who you need to be in the world. So I bring this up because about a week and a half ago, I had a conversation with my mother. And it was me getting really real and having an uncomfortable conversation and telling her how hurt I was by the fact, I'm trying to give the condensed version, but she's never really shown up for me. Or I shouldn't say never, but when I've needed her in the past few years, there's been a bunch of stuff, some deaths and blah, blah, blah that I won't get into, but she wasn't there. She wasn't physically there. She wasn't able to be my mom. And it really hurt because she did it for everybody else. She would fly across the world to be there for other people, but she didn't do it for me. And I finally called her out on it, which was really uncomfortable. And without permission to share her story, I won't go there, but she told me something she's never told anyone that she went through 50 years ago. And I bring this up to say that it is so clear to me that our generational trauma is inherited. And that when we don't deal with our stuff, we give it to our children without meaning to. And this isn't my way of shading my mom. I love her dearly. But my point being that it kept her from me and it kept me from being okay, not being okay. Because her way of not dealing with stuff was to stuff it. And that's been kind of the story. So,
can I stop you real quick?
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack here. I get it. But
well, let me ask you this. Are you open to being coached?
Yep.
Okay. Is everybody okay if I do some coaching? Yes. So this is how my mom made me feel. I love my mom dearly. This is a cover-up for the truth.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that the truth is really inconvenient and it's uncomfortable, what happens to all awesome people like us, because we're all the same avatar. Okay, so as you listen to me, I am you. Matt's you. We say the truth, but the truth is either ugly, it's weird, it's not, it doesn't look aesthetically sound, and so we throw something pretty, something acceptable near it, around it, to kind of make it look good. And the truth is somewhere inside of this that you're talking through, you have resentment for your mom.
Oh God, I'm angry as hell. Yeah.
And the resentment and anger, and part of it is a little bit, I'm sure there's disgust somewhere, frustration, and you heard what your mom told you, and you said to yourself, man, this gives me a little bit more of an idea of what we're talking about here. And yes, now we can justify the action, like, oh, there's a root for it, or it comes from somewhere, but it doesn't change the fact that it happened to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the question is, what made you cry a moment ago? What made you cry? Because I didn't ask you a question. No one asked you a question.
Right.
You thought of something.
Right.
You wrote down something that's comfortable. And then you realized to yourself, oh man, I need to talk about something else here.
Right. I didn't come here to be comfortable.
Yes. Okay. What did you come here for?
To get real on how I keep myself stuck.
How do you keep yourself stuck?
I think part of it is if she chose not to be there, why would anyone else?
How do you keep yourself stuck? I keep myself stuck by
Trying to keep everybody else comfortable.
so that
They don't leave.
they don't leave. So you put yourself second, third, fifth, and 15th to accommodate everybody.
Yep.
And what happens? What happens, what's happening? How are you suffering by putting yourself second? Because it's not just in one place. This is like everybody kind of a thing.
How I do everything. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I burn out.
Tell me this. Why did your mom put you in the hospital? Is it a hospital or a jail?
No, it was a hospital. And
Hospital.
Basically, she would drop me off on the way to work. And high level, left brain, I get it. She just wanted to know I was okay. But it's effed up. I just wanted my mom. That's really all it was. Because she wanted to go to work, and that was her priority, because that's the workaholism and just functioning. She was in survival mode. Because she was worried that I would try to kill myself. I had tried. There was an attempt. Right. Some stuff had gone on relationship-wise. There were some things.
Something happened in a relationship, and and you felt XYZ, and then in this period of time, that relationship mirrored what in your life? Who else left? What else left? What wasn't there?
Well, there's been definitely a pattern of wonky attachment and abandonment, for sure.
Why do you call it wonky?
I feel like I subconsciously, except I can't say that anymore because I'm aware of it, but I attach myself to unhealthy people because it's comfortable.
Why? Who was unhealthy for you?
I grew up, all of my parental figures were emotionally unavailable, or unavailable in various forms, either physically or emotionally.
Who did you live with when you were 12?
My mom and my stepdad.
Okay, fair. And I want you to, I want us to just be aware of this. I asked you a question, and your response was my parental figures, because to say, hey, my mom was a problem and my dad was a problem is just not cool.
Right. Well, my dad left when I was 4. My mom remarried, but all 3 of them were unavailable in various forms, either physically or emotionally. So.
And when you say unavailable? You mean that they worked a lot, or they?
Well, no, dad left. He lived in a different country. I didn't see him again until I was 13, I think. And my mom and stepdad were they were in survival mode. So I understand it intellectually, but they were not available emotionally.
Only child?
No, they had two more.
They had two more. You have brothers and sisters, or two sisters?
Two younger sisters.
Do we like these younger sisters?
Now, yes.
Now we do. They were like, wait, years ago, or when you guys were growing up?
No, it wasn't that, but we were raised very differently, and that was really hard. So that added to the narrative.
How were you raised differently?
They were a lot younger, and I think partly the parents had resources emotionally and financially later. And so there was a different dynamic.
You guys didn't have a lot of money?
No.
What's some of the things that you needed when you were like 14, 15 that you couldn't get?
Honestly, just their time. That was
Time.
the main thing.
What were they doing instead of spending time with you?
Hustling to survive.
Working.
Yeah.
Making money.
Or
Anybody
stressing about it.
Stressing about it.
Yeah.
Anybody doing drugs?
No, there was nothing. I mean, I was very fortunate from that standpoint. Outside looking in, totally fine.
Just working.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Have you ever told your mom, hey, Mom, you worked a lot? Have you ever said that to your mom?
No, but I said I needed you and you weren't there. That was the conversation a week ago.
Mm-hmm. Because if you say that, hey, Mom, you worked a lot, so therefore XYZ happened, then it's like you're ungrateful. Because she worked to provide for, I guess, your family?
She didn't work at the time. Only my stepdad did.
Okay.
So the focus was the girls. So yeah.
Were they more focused on than you were?
Definitely.
Okay. New family.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a unit?
It was, but I think it was more around they were a lot younger. They needed more, or in her mind, they needed more.
What is it in your mind? That's all I care about. Forget your mom's mind.
They ticked a box. I was old enough to handle myself. And
Got
then
it.
they shifted focus. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So they got a ton of resources.
Yeah.
You were like on the outside of this conversation.
Right.
And you felt this wasn't an even playing field, people.
Right.
And was there more pressure on you?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. To either perform, to take care of, to help, to what?
To handle myself.
To just figure it out. Okay. Then you go through this relationship, and you're how old? 16?
Yeah, 17-ish when it ended. Yeah.
Okay. And this relationship, 16, 17, and that feeling or what happened in the outcome, is it the same thing in a relationship in 20s? 30s?
Not the incident, but certainly the toxicity, yeah.
Yeah, not the incident, the toxicity.
Yep.
Okay. And inside of the relationship, you're valuable?
Rarely.
Okay. Inside of the relationship, the other person is more valuable than you?
In my mind, yes.
Okay. And when you were growing up, the other people were more valuable than you too?
Totally.
Got it. And then your mom was more valuable than you were?
Yep.
So your stepdad, I'm assuming, he was more valuable than you were? Mm-hmm. And then he maybe valued the girls more than he valued you?
I mean, I know he didn't, but that's how it felt at
That's
the time.
how it felt to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the this teenage run where someone else valued someone else or something else more than they valued you. Okay.
Basically.
Why? And then now we're like a lot of years later, at least more than 3, because you're 21, right?
27.
I'm 21. I'm 21 with a 20-year-old daughter.
Right.
So we are a few years later, and you have a consistency of valuing of the other person being more valued than you are. Okay, what do you do better than anyone else?
Show up for people.
So your number one value is what you do for someone else again? Mm-hmm. That's insane. So what do you do better than anyone else? What makes you amazing?
Ironically, helping people tell their story.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me something that doesn't include somebody else?
I don't know.
Okay, this is fair, and I respect it.
I want to say showing up, but again, that's
showing up for other people when they need
holding
me.
Space.
Yeah,
for other people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Basically, like, I am really good at doing this. So let me ask you in this way, what are 10 things that you've done right in the last 30 days?
I'm laughing because they're all about other people. But I don't count motherhood as that. I mean, it is that, but to me, that's a value. So, I mean, unplugging from my phone and my work and being there with my son.
So you live a whole life today
In service of everything and everybody.
So you're building a life and you're not in the equation. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me ask you another crazy question. What do you want in this life?
I mean, definitely freedom.
To do what? Help more people? I just want to know where we're going. You know, I just want to know where we are.
Now you guys know why I'm so lost, why I'm having this conversation.
No, you're not lost. You know exactly where you are. I'm clear on that.
I mean, freedom to serve in a way that also serves me.
No. When was the last time you were selfish?
I struggle with that definition.
Okay. So this is a little bit different because this is like learned behavior.
Right.
And like your endorphins to go off when you get that high. That person who says, oh my gosh, you're awesome. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. And then that high makes you feel good. And then you're conditioned to look for the next high. And so you keep putting yourselves in environments, jobs, et cetera, organizations, volunteer, whatever it is that you get that high. Man, thank you so much, da, da, da. And or if it's not that, because I don't know that it's quite Usherland all the time. You're going to trade Usherland for some other areas that constantly give you man, you're amazing. Man, you're awesome. Like, you're really, really cool.
Well, and it's not even verbal, but it's if I can see the person I've come into contact with do
totally.
Well, that's the high.
Correct.
It's usually to my own detriment.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So learning to tell your story is one thing, but you acknowledging the truth for whatever it is. So we could walk in and say, hey, step number 1 is, Mom, you weren't emotionally available for me. And your mom's going to be like, well, shit, no one was emotionally available for me either. So we're both shit out of luck here. That's the truth.
And she didn't say that. She didn't defend it. I'll give her her due.
No, that's fair. But I would love to see you, like step number 1 today, so this is not like in the future, would be to spend like 5 minutes talking about the truth that you didn't say in these last 10. So what I heard was, and what I hear, and where I'm clear, is that you're so used to someone somewhere making you feel like what you experienced wasn't that bad. So it could be, am I right? It could have been worse.
Unspoken.
Yes. So why are you making it seem like it's that big of a deal? And so over these last few years, as you've struggled with whatever, you've now gained a new conditioning that dictates that you're like, okay, it really wasn't like, no one locked me in a closet.
Right.
I'm not a survivor from trafficking. Like, I don't have these things, so therefore that can't be that bad. So I'm going to minimize it, go on with my life. And I'm really not going to highlight these other things over here because then I'm just going to seem like a bad, ungrateful person, and I'm not. But let me tell you something. Pain is pain.
Right.
And one of the things that I've learned in sitting in this seat over the last decade is that I am like, you can't tell the next person that pain is not real.
Right.
Like, you can't tell the person that pain's not real, nor can you say, well, here's a severity of pain. What you can do is, what is like step number 1 is acknowledge the pain for what it is, sure, but it's more of, how do you actually feel? Dear mom, dear family, I feel like I wasn't the same. I felt like in this experience, and this experience, I watch you fly across the country and you never come to see me. Mm-hmm. Those are ways that you start to tackle the tiny pieces.
Right.
But if we were going to think about for these 3 sentences, it starts like this. For as long as I can remember, I've only been valued for somebody for what I could do for them.
Totally.
I've never been valuable for what I know or who I am.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with right here.
Yeah.
Your value has always come from, I do something, and then you tell me I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And I do something else, and you tell me I'm good again.
Right. Yeah.
So to break the cycle, to make a shift in that, we entertain this idea. How do I become valuable for what I know only? And we start by selling or creating transactions that are rooted in what we know and not what we can do only. It's almost like a self journey of training yourself to receive without doing. So there's a client that we had years ago. Her name is Jagisha. And we normally have some poster or banner where you could see her quote. It's so cool because she says, if we would have paid $1 million, if Tiffany had charged $1 million, we would have paid it to be where we are today. Her husband was actually our client, ran a huge business, and she would show up, just a fly on the wall, listening to the coaching. And from time to time, she helped in the business. So he thought that eventually, if we had a question, that she'd be able to chime in about the books and things like that. But after a while, she kept coming to these things. And she stood up one day, I'll never forget it. And she's like, you're not even listening to what she's saying. You know what? Forget it. We're going to spend the coaching money on me. I'm going to be the new client. And I'm like, you don't even have a business. She's like, I don't care. We are spending X amount of money for literally. And she's showing up by herself to the coaching. She's like, coach me. We're paying all this money, coach me. Right. And I thought it was very random and rare, but I agreed to do it because I was fascinated by this dichotomy that I saw. And very rarely do I do just high-level executive coaching. And the very first thing that she had to do was she had to stop cooking dinner for 30 days and stop cleaning for 30 days and stop waking up and making the tea and coffee for 30 days. It was the hardest thing ever.
Right.
And she called me on day 4 and she was like, this is impossible. And there were a list of things that she needed to stop doing, but it was everything. And her number one goal was to wake up and just show up. To wake up and just show up.
Right.
And only do things that pertain to her or her daughter, who I believe was a minor. All of the therapy is not going to change what you need to teach yourself.
Right.
If I could get you today to put yourself in a place that makes it so you can't serve anybody for a period of time, that's going to be step number 1. I want you to think about what I just said. You have to put yourself in a physical place where you can't serve anyone, with maybe the exception of your son, right, for 30 days. All I'm going to ask you to do is to take this time, especially in the lunch that's coming up, and to just brainstorm and ask the people in this room. Okay. Because you have to teach yourself to be selfish, but the only way to do that is by doing a selfish act.
Right.
But you can't just do it once or 4 times. And going to do your nails or your hair is not selfish. That's called maintenance. Mm-hmm. It is.
But that even that, it's funny that you say that, because the rest of my family looks at me like, oh, you've gone all LA. Mm-hmm. Like, really?
Mm-hmm. And that's why I made that statement.
Right.
Doing your hair, me sitting and getting my hair done and nails, that has nothing to do with that is all maintenance. Mm-hmm. Period.
Right. Right.
Even me now having to go do massages, they want me to go do acupuncture and all these other things, that's maintenance. Mm-hmm. Right. Selfish acts for 30 days. Not here and there. You have to physically put yourself in a selfish place. I can think of 3 times in my life. Let me tell you exactly what I did before we take a moment. One of them is I picked up myself and I went to another state and I sat there for 45 days. And I brought my kids with me. 2 of them. Another time I moved from where my family could access me, not my immediate family, but family who were around me. I moved so that they couldn't access me. They could not drive to my house. And another chapter in my life, I moved somewhere and no one had my address for maybe a year. Putting myself in a selfish place allows me to make different decisions. But I can't just say, I'm going to just do these things here and there. It's kind of like, let's say my goal was, let's say my goal was, man, I really got to lose weight. Right. I could say, okay, great. I'm going to get up every morning and go to the gym. But I probably wouldn't do that. 1 of 2 things would happen. I'd either go to where my trainer is and go sit with him for 30 days and be his neighbor and no bullshit and rent out a house right next door. Because if I stay in my house, I'm not doing it. Right. I'm trying to drink Jack and Coke at like 9:14 in the morning. You get it? Like, that's just not going to work out, you know? And I'm going to have the freedom and flexibility to do it because it's all right here. Right. But if I pick up myself and put myself in another environment, that's the reason why, like, VIP days, coaching, like if you're ever going to do something with your business, submersion into what you're trying to accomplish is the key. I submerge myself into anything. If I'm going to go write a book, great. I'm going to go over there. I'm not going to try and write it right here at my house if it's important. Right. Like if it's the thing that I know that I need to master. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I don't know what that is for you, but whatever it is, it's going to be a drastic move. It's going to be uncomfortable. Financially, you're going to be like, this is insane. Mm-hmm. People around you are going to be like, I cannot believe you. And you're going to have a new list of people who are also going to say, like, how can you? That's wrong. Right. Mm-hmm. You think you could have an answer by 116? Because she's got 114 booked, you know? So if you could do 116, 117 maybe 120, you think we can come up with something? Yes. That I can get you to commit to? That's public? That we can't turn back from? Yes. Because if you don't do it, you're going to go back, you're going to leave here, and you're going to put yourself right back in your environment where everybody's going to be able to use you as a crutch. Right. And all of the things. Mm-hmm. So let me just I'm going to give you the visual of how I made that transition. So everybody in my life would come up to me early in these years, and I really helped. I loved everything and everybody, and I wanted to help. So I was trained. So we're all trained to do this. And then we bend down, okay? And we're like, sure, you can get on my shoulders. Come on. I've accomplished this thing. I have this thing. And so people get on our shoulders so that we can lift them up so that they can climb the wall. Right. But you do this over and over again, and your knees start giving out, and you're tired, yep. And the weight's real. Mm-hmm. You don't have marks on your back. But the truth of the matter is that when you keep doing this, enough people go over, the reality is that they're just sitting on the fence, waiting. They can't actually pull you up. Right. The win comes from no longer doing this. I don't do this anywhere. The only thing I do is this. Oh, yeah, I am up here. You can come up here too if you want to. Here's my hand. But you have to take my hand and you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And as soon as you hold on, and if I feel that you're holding on tight enough so that I know you're serious, I'm going to hold on even tighter. And then I'll pull you up. The clarity is in saying out loud, I am no longer doing this. Right. Hey, brother, listen, you only call me when you need me. Moving forward after today, I won't be taking any more of your calls. If you call me when you need me, again, I'm not talking to you anymore. We can no longer have a relationship. And that is it. The end of subject. Hey there, cousin Betty, listen, the last 9 times you called me, it's because you needed something. You're always calling when you need something. I am not doing that anymore in my life. I'm out of that game. And I'm so sorry, but here's the consequence for the action if you do it again. Today, I probably have, there's 7 of us, and I probably only have 1.5 of my siblings that I'm maybe connected to on Facebook, and I probably don't have 5 of their phone numbers in my phone. What I just told you, this and this, is so real.
Right.
This is how you go out of business mentally, emotionally, financially, physically. This is what I do to interns, team members, family. If there wasn't a moment, spouse, it would be the same thing. Children. Right. When they used to come to clean my house, my kids would be like, oh my gosh, you're here. This is so exciting to go tidy up my room. I was like, no, she's coming to clean my house. She's not coming to clean your rooms. Y'all got to clean your own rooms. She's cleaning my house. So literally I put a sign that says, do not clean on their doors. Do not touch. I'm not paying for her to come clean your house. That is your responsibility. This, right? So now I've trained a 20-year-old who understands that this is a community world. Great, you want to participate in these things? Either A, you got to be doing the work. 2, you got to help pay for it. No, I have money. We don't have money. You don't have any money.
Right. No, I hear you.
It's the truth. I have money. You don't. The second that I see that you're willing to hold on, I'm going to hold on too, but I'm going to hold on tighter because I'm a little bit stronger.
Right, right.
The key to this thing, though, is you have to physically put yourself in the position. So like for me, especially like in our world in business, that's why I have certain people around me as I build companies, because I will have all my hands out all day long, 37 hours a day, pulling all the people. But I remove myself from the environments that put me in the position of making the decision that doesn't serve. All you have to do today is remove yourself from the environment, no matter how crazy it may sound. If you've ever seen our story mastery coach, Jerika, for her, that was leaving the state of Georgia. And she picked up and she left abruptly. And she lives in Scottsdale, Arizona right now and lives her best life. Pastor needed her. Church needed her, family needed her. And as she began to tell her story and make a change, she couldn't quite get them off. So she was like, wait a second, this is not going to work out. Basically, I think she was like, well, where won't you guys go? And for her, it was, they're not going to the West Coast. Right. So I don't know what the answer is for each person, but I am telling you that that's the formula. The win is in helping people this way, especially the people who are closest to us or that we really love. It's this.